Hello. In the new language of emotions, I've updated most of the emotion chapters. And what has changed in the happiness family? Well, everything. um, in the happiness family, this family, I'm reading. This family is focused on hope, confidence, and inspiration. The emotions are happiness, contentment, and joy. In each of these emotions, because of my unusual relationship with this family, I didn't have any questions for the emotions. I only had statements, and they were like, hey, thanks. For some reason, I have a very easy access to this family of emotions, which is strange because I also have the experience of suicidal ideation since I was like 10 and major depression. So you would think, why would happiness and contentment and joy be so accessible to her? We don't know. But I have a fairly positive outlook as well. And it's just weird. Okay, so in terms of these emotions, I know them very well and I know they will show up and I don't have to do a darn thing. So when they show up, I know to just let them go. Like they'll come back. It's no big whoop. And just say thanks. Did you know that for many people, this is not true? And a number of people would ask me, Carla, why aren't there any questions for the happiness family? And I'm like, because why would you even need them, right? So it was my specific, I don't want to say it's a problem, but it's my specific situation with this family that made it so that I could not see any reason at all to have questions for these emotions. Why? So, one of our dynamic emotional integration professionals, Heather Guyson, finally helped me hear what I needed to hear, which is that she did not have any relationship with these emotions. She didn't know the difference between them. She couldn't feel them in a way that worked for her, right? That was before she started training in dynamic emotional integration. And that made sense to me. Now, all of a sudden, my empathy kicked in, and I was like, okay, so let's figure out what the questions would be. And so Heather and I figured out the questions, and we sent them out to the whole group of our dynamic emotional integration colleagues. And we changed them a little bit, but these are the questions now. So for happiness, which is the emotion that helps you look forward to the future and also just be in amusement, the questions are what delights me and what makes me feel hopeful. So if you have any difficulty finding your happiness, which lives in your body, all of your emotions live in your body. You don't need to go anywhere to find them or to feel them. Asking these questions, what delights me and what makes me feel hopeful, can help you kind of key in on that emotion, just like find it in your life. Contentment is a sense of, I guess, self-esteem. It's appreciation and recognition of what you've done and what you've done well. And so the question for contentment, if you need to sort of find it, is how have I embodied my authentic values? Contentment is an interior emotion, and it's about how you sort of work, how you produce, how you behave, how you stand in this world. And when you stand and behave in a way that makes sense to your value system, then your contentment will come up and say, nicely done, pal. You let the contentment go and know that the way to get it back is not to do a bunch of affirmations like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. Um, the way to get your contentment to come back is to do things that support your moral values. Yeah. So it's very much a way to keep you in your compass. Contentment is like, that was nice. You flossed your teeth, and that's one of your values. Nicely done, right? So if you don't feel a lot of contentment, look at your authentic values. It could be that some of them are completely unlivable. And so we have a practice for that called burning contracts. When we sort of somehow sign a contract with an unlivable value, such as, no one will love me until I'm perfect, and some poor schmo comes to love you, your shame, which is the emotion that holds you to your horrible values, that horrible value, your shame will go on a bender. And your contentment literally cannot arise because you can't live up to that value, right? So if you have some difficulties with self-esteem, look at the values that you've agreed to and the morals that you've agreed to, and see if they're livable, if they're appropriate, if they're even worth keeping. And if they're not, burning contracts. And you will find that your morals and values will become a lot less mean-spirited, and your contentment will be able to arise much more often because you can live your ethics and values now. So yay. For joy, joy is an emotion that sort of, it connects you with everything. It's like a huge orgasmic bliss-filled emotion. It's wonderful. Lives in your body. You don't have to go anywhere or chase after anything to find joy. And the questions for joy are, what brings me deep connection and infinite expansion, right? The second question is, how do I integrate this radiant experience, right? Joy is a very large emotion, and you can't live it all the time, but you can't sort of live any of your emotions all the time. You shouldn't. Their job is to move in and out and help and be in appropriate relationship to you and the world around you. Joy also should be in appropriate relationship to you. And joy is not sort of an everyday emotion. It's because if it is, then you just take all the joy out of it because you're like, oh, everything's fabulous, everything's wonderful, it's all bliss, whatever, I'm bored. Joy should be a momentary emotion. Joy should be a surprise, right? Joy should be saved for times when everything is absolutely, brilliant. That's when it comes. It's not supposed to be there every day. Yeah. So how do I integrate this radiant experience becomes very important with joy. How do you integrate these joyous, blissful, radiant emotions and do the dishes, right? How do you do that? So that's the work with joy, is learn how to live appropriately in relation to it. I think it's the Tao Te Ching calls joy the most dangerous emotion. And you would think, no, that would be hatred, no, that would be the suicidal urge. Nope, it's joy. Because of the way we act around joy, we throw ourselves at it. We throw ourselves away behind joy. Cults use joy to entrap people, right? It's a very dangerous emotion. And so what do you do when things are dangerous? You live appropriately in relation to them, right? You cool your jets and have as much joy as you need to have, yay, and then integrate it and move on to the next thing. I think that's true of all the happiness emotions. We're taught that this family is the only one you should ever feel or have, right? This is the only family that has positive emotions in it. And positive and negative emotions is an idea that is going to ruin your entire ability to understand emotions. There's no such thing as a positive emotion. There's no such thing as a negative emotion. It's a ridiculous idea, but it's an idea we've all been taught and gets pounded into us every single day. These three emotions are the supposedly positive ones: happiness, contentment, and joy. And what has happened is we have wanted to put them everywhere. We've wanted to have them all the time. And that is totally inappropriate. If you looked at any of the other emotions, the happiness family is just 3 emotions out of the 17. If you looked at any of the other families, the anger family, the fear family, the sadness family, you would know that you're not supposed to feel any of those emotions all the time. You'd be like, well, why? That's silly. It's equally silly to try to do that to this lovely family of emotions. which are tending to be used almost as an addictive substance. And there's almost a kind of abuse that happens of these three emotions, who are forced to dance around like circus ponies when another emotion would have been appropriate. So in this work, dynamic emotional integration, in the work in the language of emotions, it is to learn how to be with all emotions in appropriate ways. In appropriate ways, not inappropriate. Okay. To learn their questions, to learn how to key into them, and to learn how to live an emotionally whole life in a world that often tells us the only emotions that are worth having are 3 out of 17 of them, right? Thank you, happiness family. We're sorry for all the abuse you've gone through. We are going to treat you appropriately. And then contentment goes, yes. Okay. Thank you so much.